Juliet. Yeah. Romeo, villain, dog.
No, husband, you are too hot.
This offense means we do now at once exile him hence.
Romeo, up and about in early morn.
Good afternoon, my name is Jules. Welcome to Jared to Jared. On this week's episode, the Jareds will discuss William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, young love, mortality and immortality, the most brutal play in the Bard's corpus, and much, much more. Prepare yourself.
How we gonna start it, dude? Traumatized.
Yeah, let's just start it this way. Like, I didn't realize how brutal Romeo and Juliet is.
Probably the most brutal play that he's ever wrote, honestly. Now that you say that, I can't think of one that's worse.
It's brutal, yeah.
Even gouging of the eyes, whatever.
King Lear, all that. It's like,
doesn't even come close.
It doesn't even come close. And the last time I really engaged with Romeo and Juliet was maybe reading it for the first time in high school and watching the Leonardo DiCaprio version, which is really dumb.
Terrible version. And also I was in high school, so probably just kind of like cynical and didn't care, Right.
High schooler. And then in college, read the play, but it's different when you watch it and you watch a good production of it. And also just like, again, in college, still like not as, I guess, developed or empathetic or something as I am now. Because watching it this time, I feel awful. It was really, really, really terrible,
Dude, it's crazy. I've never known the end of a story, but still like up until the end, didn't think that it was going to happen.
I wanted so bad for it to be different.
Fucking stop this.
It's a car wreck. It's watching it. It's driving your car in the snow and the car starts sliding and you're going to like slide into that wall.
Right.
And even up to the last moment, your brain is just like, no.
Right.
Even though it's like.
Sure.
It's
and maybe there's one thing you could do, like pull the e-brake or something that'd save you, but you're not doing it. And it's just happening in real time, the wreck.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Straight into the fucking wall,
Yeah.
It's almost like Final Destination-esque. Like it's cruel.
It's
cruel how, and like egregious. It's so like ridiculous almost too, the poisoning of the sap. As soon as he drinks the poison, she wakes up, It's fucking brutal.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
And I had the sense while watching it.
But it works though. It's like emotional.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I had the sense too that even Shakespeare, as he was writing it, was like desperate for it to be different.
Right.
That as he was writing it. Because I imagine when he was writing, I mean, it's so clearly he disappeared into the work.
Right.
The work was just speaking through him. There was some kind of spirit or something that was speaking through the pen of Shakespeare. I think the individual of Shakespeare just was gone, just totally disappeared into the work. And I picture him desperate for it to be different and even resisting that conclusion. But for some reason, that spirit that was speaking through him was like, I'm sorry, but this is how it has to be.
Right. He's devastated too.
Yeah.
Clearly through the friar.
Yeah. I don't think Shakespeare was okay for probably months after writing that.
Right. I wonder if there's any accounts of that. That would be interesting to look into. But he couldn't though, just from a soulful, like humane perspective.
You can't be okay.
Couldn't be okay. He was devastated. He was like the friar, freaking William Giamatti at the end, just devastated,
So I have two questions to kind of start us off. I feel so
traumatized, devastated. Fucking devastated.
Oh my
Jeff
God.
and Gabby now.
Yeah, I was crying a bit. I didn't want you to see it. I was crying a bit.
I'm glad you didn't have me see that.
Yeah.
So let's step back from the tragedy. Right. The beginning of this play is fucking I would argue maybe the most beautifully written line for line. The poetry in it is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Freaking him talking about her, the way she looks, all this stuff,
it's
incredible. Has all the great hitters Shakespeare has.
Yep,
it's got the bro hangout,
The bro hangout.
He's got the freaking the girl hangout.
Yeah.
The masquerade party. So awesome. Love the masquerade party,
Yeah.
Let's get into that a little bit because when the masquerade party happened, we wanted to sort of have a meditation.
That's
on
true.
this.
There was a lot on the masquerade party.
See, this is why I was a little hesitant about doing the pod straight after because it's trauma. I can't really think about it. I can't think about the hitters we wanted to hit.
I think we need to maybe just start at the end. I think we need to just start where we are.
We're walking backwards.
Walk backwards because I'm not in the mood to talk about the masquerade party right now. I can't.
Which bothers me. I wanted to talk about it. Neither am I.
Well, let's start here. Let's start here. Okay, because I have two questions that I think will be a good just segue, get the conversation going, and maybe we'll be able to let go of this pain that we're both feeling. One, why is it so brutal? I mean, we've watched Hamlet, we've watched Macbeth, King Lear. I mean, Shakespeare is known for his brutality, Why is this one in particular the most brutal? That's question number one. Question number two is what can we learn from the play of Romeo and Juliet? Thoughts on either or both of those?
Okay, so answer to question number one. It's a pure intention. That's the beauty of Romeo and Juliet. Love, right? That was the ambition. That was the hope. That was the purity of it, right?
Right.
Hamlet, revenge. That's not pure.
Right.
There's no love to that.
I see.
Macbeth, right?
Yeah.
Power. There's no purity to that, right?
Yeah.
What hurts so much about Romeo and Juliet is it's a younger version of a self within all of us too. It's sort of the tragedy of Brother Dawn and Sister Dawn, dying in the dawn, right? The day hasn't even begun and just begun.
Yeah.
And dying on account of stupidity of, inner family freaking issues, fighting, politics, fucking probably racism, all that stuff, even what's his name? The cousin who dies. Tybalt, he was freaking, had some anti-Semitic comments thrown in there, etc. Right? So it's tragic because it's a loss of a pure ambition, a purity, which was love, right? And that's something that everyone across the board can celebrate in any culture at any time.
Yeah,
right?
Beautifully said. That's completely correct. Because you're right. You look at Hamlet, there's no hope in Hamlet.
Right.
There's just not.
Right.
At all.
No. Yeah.
Macbeth, there's no hope. From the start, everyone is fucked. This is just not going to end well. And the road toward that terrible ending is also not going to be good.
Right.
Whereas Romeo and Juliet gives you so much hope along the way. Like he keeps pulling at your hope strings.
Right.
Maybe this will work out. Maybe there's a way. Maybe these two families, the Capulets and Montagues, will put down the swords in favor of love. There's so much hope and the youth, the sense of youth as well. Because I commented in this production that we watched, the actors were so young, which fit because that's in the play, like they actually are supposed to be like 16 or something super young like that. So, and I think with youth, there is this inherent hopefulness. There's so much potential.
Right.
Where could it go? It's so anything could happen. Anything could happen. And of course, you're hoping for something good to happen. And you're hoping for redemption as well. Because I think when we look at youth with that hopefulness, and not saying this is positive or negative or anything like that, but I think we are projecting in some way as adults our own misfortunes, missed opportunities, that hope, that hope that maybe things could be different. Maybe they could be better. With every new generation, we have that hope. Maybe the Montagues and Capulets will put the swords down, please.
Right.
And you can see the possibility for that.
Right.
You can see it, but then things happen the way they happen. I mean, look at the 21st century. Going into the 21st century was incredibly hopeful. I remember the end of the 90s. It was like, whoa, what technology are we going to have that's going to like benefit the world? Are we going to, there's that guy who talked about like the end of history, right? What Fukuyama or whatever his name was. This historian talks about the end of history, that from like 1999 on, there was reason to believe that, there was going to be conflict, but the world was just going to like gradually move towards peace and democracy, right? That there was at least reason and evidence for that. And then look at the 21st century so far, and it's just like, gives you a similar feeling as Romeo and Juliet, that sense of letdown hope.
Well, this is what's devastating too about it. Playing off of that is back to, the famous line, good intentions paved the road to hell.
Such a good line. Mercutio
on his deathbed. Oh my God.
Dying
wow,
breath, man.
Wow,
that's what he says.
Wow. That's what's so devastating about it too, is because, her maid, whether it's the maid, the friar, freaking, Romeo or Juliet, everybody is going at this issue with good intentions, essentially. Right. And really it's those good intentions that ultimately end up fucking them over. In the end, it leads them both to their death.
So painful.
And thinking about it on a micro scale, right? How devastating this could be. We think about it in our today's society, right? You want to better yourself. I want to better myself. People listening, we want to better ourselves, right? So we start doing good things, going to the gym, freaking, not smoking cigs anymore, drinking whatever, focusing more on this or that. And instead of it turning out to be a success story, that's what ends up killing you.
Yeah.
Like I end up like lost in the woods. And if I only had a lighter and was still smoking cigs, I could start a fire. But instead, I freeze to death. You know what I'm saying? Or like going to the gym ultimately ends up in me like having a heart attack over there, or like meeting somebody really terrible that takes me down a dark. You know what I'm saying? Like good intentions, trying to do good, have a good, healthy relationship, what have you. It ends up in tragedy. It's devastating at the end. And it's not necessarily because of those good intentions, quote unquote, necessarily.
No.
Because it's a cause of the family discord, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And those feuds that we talk about. But that being said, if the people with good intent didn't act as the way they did, they would have never have ended up in this situation. And this is why I want to also pull back on the emotion of Romeo and Juliet. Because nobody except for Paul Giamatti, the father, Friar Lawrence, tells them to chill the fuck out.
Exactly. Yeah.
This could have all been avoided if everybody didn't buy 100%. Into this madness of jumping in head first into a relationship with somebody you literally just met.
Oh yeah,
when you first met her, she had a mask on. You totally forget Rosalie. Rosalie's so hot.
She was so hot.
So hot. Oh my
Rosalind,
God. Should have stayed with Rosalind.
Should have stayed with Rosalind, bro. Bad
First
move.
of all, bad move. Hadn't even really seen freaking Juliet. She has a mask. Dude goes head over heels. Somebody should have Friar Lawrence smacks the kid, but later, too late. He should have smacked him sooner. Been like, dude, you're a beautiful guy. You still haven't even gone to freaking Friar College yet. You need to become a knight, all this cool stuff,
And they were trying to tell him. I mean, Benvolio had a really cool line where he says,
yes.
Yeah, where he goes love will come again. Love will come again. And then there's some other parts that I forgot. But it was like the whole point being
love doesn't just come once. Right?
Yeah. And when you're young, you don't see that.
Yes.
You don't see that. I remember I was in a developmental psychology class and they were talking about such a random thing. Oh, it was suicide among teens, which is, what Romeo and Juliet is really about, or not really about, but it's obviously a crucial part in the movie is suicidality among teens,
Yeah.
I mean, multiple times throughout the movie, Friar Lawrence had to stop them from wanting to kill themselves with the knife. Like that happened twice, foreshadowing the final scene, but also just showing like, man, these guys are unhinged.
Right.
So suicide among teens, part of the reason is because in the teenage brain, which isn't fully developed, your brain isn't fully developed till about the age of 25, an event happens. And because you don't have the maturity of reference points, you haven't fallen on your ass multiple times over and also gotten up multiple times over. So when you're a teen, you fall on your ass once and then you think this is the end.
Right.
This is it.
Right.
I fucked up. My entire life is ruined.
Right. Brother Don.
Because they haven't seen yet the full process of falling and getting up.
Yes.
So they fall and then that's it. So Romeo is convinced this is it. This is the one chance at love. Where, of course, the irony in that and the beauty of age and wisdom is that you realize, no, love is infinite.
Right.
So there's always opportunities at love. There's no such thing as a missed opportunity.
Sure.
Because it's always there. You can always start anew. You could be 75 and start anew. It's okay.
Absolutely.
It's okay.
Yes.
But Romeo with this teenage
as long as you're alive,
brain, Yeah, exactly. We were talking about this today, saying that's the beauty and the gratitude of being alive. And I felt that before in the last retreat. I fucking felt that. I was sitting there in so much pain. And then something clicked in my brain where it just said, you're alive.
Right.
How incredible is that in itself? And the beauty there is because you do not die. You don't lose. There's still a chance. You can always grow. You can always build your nest. You can always do it over again. Romeo didn't get that.
I mean, can you imagine, Romeo building a straw house? And then it gets blown down by the first wolf that comes around, which is your girlfriend's parents. Come on, that's an average thing.
Yeah.
Dude kills himself.
That would be so devastating.
And then she kills herself.
Exactly.
Just
dude. So
such
heartbreaking. So heartbreaking.
And bad, influence from, the friar should have never married them. He should have just added the question.
He was a little bit unwise. Or actually a lot of bit unwise, but he was the wisest.
He was
character.
romantic.
He was a romantic.
An old romantic, ultimately. Yeah. I hated her maid.
Her maid was very immature. Her maid was 40 years old, but so
she
caught up in the narrative of young love. She never
Don.
graduated. These are a lot of underdeveloped human beings in this play.
Yes. Yes. And the father too. Guy's completely irrational.
Totally.
He's trying to create
Juliet's
the same
father.
Scenario, right? Juliet's father, with just Paris. So it's that karmic cycle that you said, the fucking karma. It's unbeatable. It's just God. I love that scene when the friar gets stopped.
Yeah,
saves a child, right? But then also because of that happening, lost a child, right?
Yeah.
There's always this sort of karmic exchange in this cool freaking in Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
Where we also get the loss of the two lovers, but then now we have the family uniting, right? The birth of love and peace.
Yeah. God, so much to say there. Yeah. And that's I could feel it. I felt like I don't know, man. Something like opened inside me as well. It was devastating and sad, but I could also feel like it put me into an altered state of consciousness. That last scene, there was something really potent.
Same.
Right?
Yeah.
Where I could feel, and when I say, I mean really feel, like this was devastating, you know.
Dude, we were entered into some weird fourth dimensional, ethereal, like
Grid was there too.
Sadness mushroom realm. That fucking, you know, opium mind of William Shakespeare. Yeah.
The entire energy in the room changed.
Right.
Like when Juliet fucking shoves the knife into her belly, I could feel in my own being just this screaming sense of despair.
Drinks the fucking poison.
Oh my God.
Right as she opens her eyes.
Right as her fingers
are
moves,
moving.
No!
Oh my God. Say it ain't so.
Dude,
it's almost like it's not happening. It's like, dude, you can't do this. Yeah. If I would have jumped Shakespeare if he was alive today.
No, yeah, I would have rioted.
How could you do that?
I would have rioted. If I was in the Globe opening night.
Seriously, you know, I'd have said, boo this man.
Dude, there's stories of like transgressive films coming out in like the 20th century and stuff, and then like people rioting and shit.
Yes,
that's happened with a few movies, which is wild.
Yeah.
And whenever I've heard those stories, I've been like Jodorowsky, his first film, which showcased, I think, in Mexico City, people lost their fucking minds. Like they like destroyed the movie theater because of what Jodorowsky made. And I've heard stories like that, and I'm like, that makes no sense to me. I could not imagine seeing a piece of art. Now it does, and fucking breaking windows.
Yes.
Now it does. If I was in the Globe,
I'm furious.
If I was in the Globe opening night of Romeo and Juliet, I would have fucking been screaming. I would have been punching walls.
God. Imagine us at the tavern afterwards. We were there. I feel like we were there.
We were there.
But fucking at the tavern, pissed, just slamming freaking pitchers of beer.
And then fucking
devastated.
Bill Shakespeare fucking walks into the tavern to get a drink.
I would have bastard who killed Juliet.
Yeah, get him. Seriously, I would have lost my fucking
heartless
mind,
fucking bastard.
So fucked up. Oh man. But anyway, so I felt this screaming sense of despair, right?
Sure.
But what I also felt, and this is so strange, what I also felt was this deep spaciousness, this deep sense of grace and openness, right? Like source with a capital S, that sort of thing. Right. I could feel the despair of Juliet in particular rising out of the source and then falling back into source, into that open plane of godlike potentiality from which everything arises. I don't know why, but I could feel that, right? So I feel the despair, but then I also feel spaciousness around the despair. And what I think the spaciousness was the karmic resolution. Was the karmic resolution, because if you look at Romeo and Juliet, like you're saying, there's that karmic conflict between the Montagues and Capulets. You can assume that has been going on for generations based on the amount of discord and violence that's happening. Sure. Tybalt wasn't the first family member that was murdered in that conflict. Neither was Mercutio. That's like the 4th generation, 5th generation of that conflict happening.
Rip Mercutio.
So the violence rises. There's this heavy entanglement. And then the narrative and their souls even are seeking resolution, right? And Friar Lawrence saw the possibility for resolution from a place of love, right? Yeah. Where he says, look, I have an idea. If we marry you two, that can actually help to resolve the violence and have a happy ending. Now,
God has shown me love, and it's Juliet's face, right?
Oh God, so dude, so incredible.
Yeah.
Even that, like, so love is this like external entity that then manifests as human beings.
Right.
Dude, Shakespeare is so alien, just so fourth dimensional.
Right.
So that karmic conflict needed to resolve itself. Unfortunately, it had to come about in a way of violence, because at the end, the two fathers, Montague and Capulet, do shake hands and say, this has gone on far enough. Put the swords down. This stops now.
Right.
Unfortunately, it took the death of their madly in love children to make that happen. And in that sense, Romeo and Juliet were a karmic sacrifice that were there in order to guide the larger village toward a place of resolution.
Right.
So that was that sense of spaciousness and grace.
Right.
So there was love in the end. And then you can imagine, 3 generations when some of that trauma's healed out, that, new Romeo, new Juliet, freaking a few generations out can share in love peacefully, gracefully, joyfully.
Right. Absolutely. You figured it out right there. Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. So the Greeks believed that when Psyche died, that was only then that she could experience true love.
Okay.
Is there something to this sort of afterlife vision that Shakespeare perhaps also saw? Because Romeo was telling freaking his homie, what's his name, the young kid? Benvolio. Oh, Benny.
Love Ben. Yeah.
Love Benny. Oh, Vols. He was telling him, I need to return this ring to thy hand that gave it to me.
Right.
To kiss her on thy cheek, etc. He's going to go kill himself, right? To be with her in this afterlife. And then that's what she says. I won't wait and toil long, right? Gets the dagger, freaking daggers herself. So they're fully believe, as Psyche did, you will be with the one that you love after death, right? As a spiritual man, thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah. So, man, this is so devastating. It hurts so much. It just hurts. So, one, Troilus and Cressida.
Okay.
Troilus and Cressida.
Nice. Love this.
Which, God, where'd that come from? I got to look the shit up again. I think that was Ovid. Anyway, ancient Greek stuff that,
Sure.
Ovid, the Roman writer, preserved some of these ancient Greek stories. Anyway, Romeo and Juliet was not fully original.
Sure.
It was a reinterpretation of an older story, Troilus and Cressida, about 2 lovers who then pretty much the same kind of final situation happened. So it was Shakespeare's reinterpretation of that story with a lot of his own elements as well. I think maybe perfection of that story. So there seems to be something archetypal about this, about the dead lovers. There seems to be something archetypal, and I could feel it. It feels like Romeo and Juliet exist in the collective unconscious. Like that image of the dead lovers seems for some reason just like stamped in there. I made a mural in one of my apartments, where one of the images was these 2 skeletons bound up in love. So there's something about that, like the I don't know, again, that sense of potential, dead lovers, all that stuff. So there's that. And then I got away from your question though. What was it?
Sort of.
Oh, Psyche and love in the afterlife.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So Dante's Inferno. He takes a story of young lovers. I forgot what story it was. It was like another old well-known tale about these 2 lovers, but there's some cheating going on and they end up both dying for love.
Right.
Now Dante takes that and puts those 2 characters, the young man and woman, in his Inferno and punishes them because it was like lust, premarital sex, all that stuff, right? Dante was freaking Puritan. And their punishment is to be bound as Siamese twins, So essentially Satan, God, whatever, was like, you love each other so much.
Right.
You love each other so much. So here you go. You get to be bound together for an eternity.
Wow.
Turns out they're bound together for about 25 minutes. And then they're like, oh God, I hate this guy. I can't stand him.
Right.
And he's like, this girl's such a bitch, bro. Fucking Christ.
Yeah.
So you wonder about Romeo and Juliet because let's say they spent a couple of years together and like got that youthful energy
I wanted
out.
to get into this. Yes.
Does their love remain, or does it turn out, wow, you're actually pretty annoying,
Right. Well, even the maid's like, wait 10 years and then you'll sleep like a baby because he's going to lose interest, right?
Right.
wait 10 days. Seriously.
Yeah, literally.
That's the crazy thing is we create our own karma. Leonti's Winter's
Leonti
Tale.
style, yeah.
The family created it, right?
Mhm.
If they would have just accepted, let them date.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
go on,
exactly.
like,
Yeah.
They're young. Like,
And then
they're
it would've
going to
resolved.
hate each other
Yeah,
in 2
exactly.
weeks.
Let 'em do it,
like,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Right.
If they end up staying
It's not
together
gonna last.
forever, that's a miracle. Like, and awesome. Good for them.
And Father Lawrence has lines about that where he says things like a flame that burns that bright can't last long.
Right,
you know,
right,
he's like, look
right.
at you. He was like, Romeo, chill. Like you need to allow your love to kind of like simmer down and extend and kind of temper itself. It's not about getting really, really, really high on it, because that's going to have its hangover. There,
Yes.
I guarantee you, if they didn't kill themselves in 3 months,
Yes.
in 3 months, it would have been, they would have been sick of each other. Freaking.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. Juliet, dude, she's so annoying. I
He
didn't
would have been
realize,
writing
you know.
letters to freaking Rosalind.
He would have been back on Rosalind.
100%.
You know, so.
Yeah. Old Benny would have been like, dude, I told you, you should have talked to Rosalind at the party that night 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Look at you now, you know, devastated.
Dude, so yeah, so it's this. So that's one thing I learned from watching Romeo and Juliet, is not to act from a place of impulsivity.
Yes.
You know exactly what you're saying, dude. Like, if they just dialed it back 2 notches.
Right.
I mean, and that's the thing, because karma, in like a Buddhist sense, creating karma, what that is when you act from that place of impulsivity, that gets you more fucking wrapped up, and things get more complicated and knotted up and not healthy. Whereas and then people have to die in order to resolve the karma, because it gets so intense that the only way to untie the knot is to cut it. And that includes violence and death. So, whereas and drawing on Buddhist philosophy, if you breathe, let go, chill out, allow your nervous system to let go of whatever it's hanging on to, the karma just naturally dissolves, and then your life unfolds naturally and gradually and with patience and grace. But when you're impulsive, do this, and the speed, you know, is so well shot and everything, because the pacing of the film and the dialogue and all of it is just so fucking rapid fire. It's so intense. There's no pause. There's no moment of breathing. It's so fucking intense until the very end, where he slows down the pacing immensely, and then by that point it's devastating. You know. That's the point. That's what's crazy. The first 90% of the play, you're like, slow down, guys, slow down. This is not okay. And then the last 10% of the play, you're like, no, get there, please, Father Lawrence, go faster. And oh man,
and
it's
you know,
so awful.
I have a theory on why.
Okay.
Let's take it as metaphor. Let's take away the characters themselves. There is no Romeo. There is no Juliet as person, right?
Yeah.
They represent young love. And when you are experiencing Brother Day, Brother Dusk love, like mature love, you understand that love is work. It takes time. It's being together through fighting, through this, through that.
More tempered.
Breaking up, meeting other people that you're more compatible with, this, etc. Finally, you find it.
Right.
Spend you get it. Right?
Yeah, it's way
love
steadier.
Is this and that, right?
Yeah.
But that's not a vision of necessarily of a romantic vision for a human being, like, because it's laborious, it's time intensive.
We don't like that. We want the high.
We want something soon, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
We want to marry off the daughter on Thursday. Thine clench, my fist be clenched.
So good.
You know,
good. Yeah.
freaking out, you know.
Yeah, even Juliet's father, who's supposed to be an adult, I mean, is so neurotic, and it's awful.
But as an audience, we romanticize young love because it's beautiful.
Yeah.
All you want to do is express what you're feeling to the other person in the most like intimate and poetic way possible that will make them experience what you're experiencing, this and that. you want to get married on the week one just so you can prove, and you want time to go by just so you can prove to people how much you guys love each other, this and that, breathing each other's air, you know. Because you're young and ignorant, and that's not set in reality. That's not a foundational love. Right. It's actually a tinderbox of fire.
Tinder. Yeah.
It's infatuation,
exactly.
Right? It's a setup for something that's dangerous. It's the straw house, exactly.
The straw house goes up in flames.
They want the brick house immediately. They want the fourth dimensional house,
exactly.
Right?
Immediately. Yeah.
And that's not how things work, you know?
No, it's not. No, right. Life is so much more gradual. And that's the thing.
But it's sad for the audience because we once had young love and hope like that.
Exactly.
That's something exactly like that existed.
Yeah.
And we had somebody to share in that psychosis. Yeah. Not anymore.
And right. I think that's the sin of, if I had a dying message to give, you know, in the same way Mercutio and the road to hell is paved in good intentions. Like, God, it's going to be way more, extended. It's not going to be a cool ass one liner like that.
You never know.
But if my final, here's my message to the world before I die, right? Is freaking one, go the other way than you think you're supposed to go. Right.
Can't wait for you to tell me this. Yeah. Blood spewing.
Go the other way.
After me stopping you from, a sword fight.
Seriously, yeah. Sword fight in the plaza.
Right.
Oh, man. For my lady's honor. So, dude, seeing people love it. They love the drama.
For my lady's honor, that's even more epic. Yeah.
So by go the other way than what you think you're supposed to go. By that, I mean, we think that there is some sort of like transcendence, that if we just get neurotic and impulsive enough, we'll break through to
prove the system
peace,
wrong,
to tranquility,
right. Cheat the
to
system.
resolution, right? If we just get neurotic and impulsive enough, it will break through.
Right.
We will break through the atmosphere, break through the glass ceiling, whatever, into that space of resolution, right? And we think that, and you can see it everywhere. I mean, look, man, it's like media, events, parties, going to a concert, all these things are ways of increasing our stimulation, which is fine. That's fun sometimes, and like youthful love, romance, all that stuff. Increasing stimulation, right? So I get it. It's fine. It feels good, whatever. However, you get addicted to that stimulation and you're convinced, again, the more stimulated you get, you will break through. It's like people who, try out psychedelics and then think like, if I just do enough of these,
the God dose.
I will break through into peace and tranquility. That's not what happens. Or romantic love. If I could just break through, boom, then me and Juliet are finally going to be okay. Know. But energies breed themselves, right? This is Leontes from Winter's Tale, Energies breed themselves. If you are acting from a place of addiction and stimulation, you're just going to breed more addiction and stimulation.
Right.
So my message to the world, when I'm in the plaza stabbed by a sword, is go the other direction. Allow, again, your nervous system to let go of that stimulation, and then you actually dissolve backwards into that place of tranquility and peace.
Right.
So it's not about increasing the stimulation, then breaking through into tranquility, peace, and resolution. It's about letting go, and dissolving backwards into that space of tranquility.
Right. Nice.
So it's like, I really wish there was one character in that play that had his cool, but there wasn't.
Right. So yes to all that. Also, I'm laughing about you saying that on you with blood in your mouth on your deathbed. Just like, actually, I think he's gonna be all right. He's saying a lot.
He's saying a lot, bro.
He's fine.
He's good. I think he's okay.
Save your energy.
Like, were you even actually stabbed? You seem fine, bro.
It's actually about stimulation. No, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
However, back to the C.S. Lewis thing, and I looked up that quote. I completely butchered it, whatever. And I don't want to butcher it again, but essentially there is sort of, it's not the worst platform though to also set up with. Like I said, I was once, Romeo in that Juliet thing, me and freaking Hillary, whatever, in that crazy instrument basis love, whatever. And of course, reality had to hit, etc. But now, not together anymore, obviously, but time has passed where there is this deep, deep love that Romeo and Juliet would never be able to experience.
Right.
Because they only knew each other for a week.
Exactly. Not even
3 days, right? So there is also a loss to that too. But what I'm saying though is that if you do find that filling with somebody, well, that is a good sign. That's that's a green flag.
Oh my God, that sounds amazing.
You feel like, boom, so passionate, beautiful, just want to hang out and like talk and whatever.
Yeah, beautiful.
She speaks. Hiding in the garden. Yeah. Maybe don't do that, but but take it easy. Like you said, if you want it to work out, do not go down the path of impulse,
bro. Exactly. It's like
step back, freaking, like we were saying, go to the market, go on a date, freaking hit a Renaissance fair, and just see if you guys like each other, play it out.
Exactly.
And that's a good basis. It probably will work out because you both clearly want to be with each other. You want to hang out. Yeah,
totally.
But listen, this is a sensitive subject. Our parents hate each other they have for years. Grandparents have. If we're going to do this, let's be smart about it.
Right.
Let's not go get married in the fucking fryer tomorrow. That's wild. Bro, that's stupid, bro.
Look,
and just one side note before I forget. If the friar would have never have gave her that 6-day potion, I'm telling you, man, within a week, Romeo so hot, he would have met some girl. He's over there. He has his own studio.
Dude, yeah.
He's a sculptor, painter.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Dude
he gets freaking exiled and he's just
shirt,
like, he's having a great time, bro.
He's got freaking blinged out medallion 6-pack.
Dude, I loved his medallions.
Dude,
they're so cool.
Give that dude 2 weeks in that new town. He's going to get swiped up immediately. Immediately. Come on.
Romeo, what are you doing?
Plus, hey, Paris seemed like a real good guy. Juliet could have fell in love with that guy.
No, she definitely could.
I don't know. You never know. He seemed like a good guy. Yeah. Hey, man, he died for,
No, you're right, though. Like, it's like you're making sauce, right? You got your pot of sauce on the stove. You're chopping up pepper into it, onions, all this.
Right.
You don't want to put the heat all the way on high. If you're in like a rush and you need to like make your sauce quick or something, you don't want to put your heat all the way on high because you're just going to burn it.
Yeah. You got to simmer that.
Yeah. You got to simmer that stuff, and simmering it allows the veggies in it, the tomatoes, all of it to release their flavors gradually.
Yes.
And permeate the entire sauce. Like I think that's what you need to do with love,
Right.
I'm going to try that next time I'm in love, dude. I'm just going to simmer it, just
for sure.
Yeah.
And I think there is something too to learn from Romeo and Juliet, as not to also forget that sort of feeling within is inside of us. That ability to love and to be passionate about somebody and to allow yourself to feel that way about somebody and be able to express that inner self to you, be open to it.
Yeah.
It's clearly can be like a beautiful thing. And like there is something that is missed that we are clearly getting wrong in mature love.
Yeah.
Especially in this contemporary age, where there's no more true communication of how you're feeling, how you're looking at each other. Even like the mom said, go see thine eyes, is this somebody that you could love? Really ask, being a part of that, expressing yourself freely with a clear mental health, to be able to do so with hope. Yeah. Right. I think sometimes we forget about that and we make it so about, no, we can't go there yet. I can't say that about you because consequence A. consequence B? This could cause it. That could cause it. This cause it. Right.
Yeah.
And it's just like, hey, stop. Like, be a kid. Go frolic again with this person you really like.
Yeah.
Forget about, like, you know, oh man, the priest, right? And Chocolat at the end.
Oh yeah.
So good. He says, let's stop worrying so much about not supposed to.
Right.
Such a beautiful line, right?
Yeah.
Let's not worry so much about not supposed to. Don't forget to live, right?
Yeah.
Experience your life
exactly.
too. And like, I remember old relationships too, even before, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Having that really cool sense of like peace and connection with the person I was with, you know, it's something good to remember and to channel within the self too.
Yeah.
And not always have to be the friar that's just, you know,
right
there in your sick ass temple, which is cool, you know,
and
you're awesome
cool
and
too.
you're an herbologist, whatever,
Right.
but you know, I don't know. We don't want to become the apothecary guy, you know.
Right.
Bad news down there. Bad news. You know? Yeah.
And look, like I used to feel some envy for people like let's say Jim Morrison,
Sure.
Kurt Cobain, right? You know, these like genius artist guys who had such incredible
died young,
experiences.
just like Young Love.
Exactly.
I wanted to bring up Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, the 27 Club, Hendrix.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's hilarious
exactly.
that you say that. I was gonna say
thing.
that. It's a
Similar
very
thing.
similar
Not
thing.
necessarily.
Yes. That's why we romanticize it, because it's this youthful. You know.
Got it. Yeah, and that's I think this is, it's like a Carl Jung thing. You know, he was mapping out the collective unconscious, but he called it like the pure eternus, the eternal youth, right?
Yes.
The eternal youth. And for some reason that serves some kind of function in the collective unconscious, in the collective society. And it's something about that, again, I guess, unfulfilled potential, where they die in a state of potentiality. Because it's always,
right.
You know, you can still say it's just like, man, if like Kurt didn't freaking blow his brains out like when he was 27, it's like, dude,
Farley,
what songs would
John
that guy
Candy,
have written? What Nirvana songs would we be listening to now that they wrote when they were like 30,
but
35?
Also, though, we don't have to witness the sadness of a decline either.
Yeah, that too. So it's like you go out, not just go out, you die, go out on
At
top.
the top. Yeah.
And I think that's part of the beauty too, right? Where it's like, Kurt Cobain died a fucking genius. You know, he didn't die a has-been or something like that. You know, I mean,
and that's what makes mortality beautiful too.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what makes our existence so cherishable and meaningful every moment, right?
And in all the mythology, the angels, the devas, they envy human beings for our mortality, because mortality breeds meaning. You know? So you have Romeo and Juliet, and to bring this conversation back to where we started, I mean, what made it so brutal, so devastating, yet so beautiful is the fact that they went out on top, essentially. They didn't go out. It's actually beautiful that they didn't, you know, stay together for 3 months and then find out how freaking annoying each other are and break up. You know, it's like that would have been such a letdown and boring and everything else, you know, but going out on top, Jim Morrison freaking like in Paris, dying a poet in a bathtub, fucking shot up, writing some of the most beautiful poetry right before he dies, whatever, like
6-pack, all his hair, like
dude?
Healthy, you know, like just like young dude.
Yeah, I mean,
like we were talking about earlier too, the Jesus thing, he died at 33. That's young. He's not like an elder human being by any means. And this is one of the most worshipped human beings in the history.
Right. Jesus is a pure eternus in that sense, right?
He is. He died on top, you know, he was young, all his faculties, sharp, you know, the top spiritual leader of his time.
Yeah. he didn't like die and then like get in trouble for like trying to like kiss one of his female students or some weird shit. Like the dude just died on top,
totally,
you know? Like,
yeah, he didn't have to live through like
there's not the like weird downfall,
like,
you know,
doing some sketchy stuff to somebody in the Ephesians congregation, you know, like he didn't have to live through that.
Like there's something actually deeply important about the Puritanists, about the figure that dies young. There is it is serving some sort of psychic karmic purpose,
right?
That is large, and it's said you don't want to see people die when they're young. You don't want to see people die at all,
right?
You know, but it serves some sort of deeper karmic purpose. If you look at again that collective psyche,
and there's two spectrums, right? There is beauty in the longevity story. The long lasting, right? The eternal.
Yeah, and that's the one I would like.
Right. you know, even like that movie, The Notebook.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, yeah.
Sort of hitting at that is it's a like eternal love story, even within for literally having dementia, right? Bringing back yourself to that young love, the eternal love, what have you, you know, and then they die together, what, you know.
And that's beautiful too. And I feel like
and the angels too, when they maturate after thousands of years, right? Yeah. The gods and that's a beautiful story too, right?
It almost complements each other. I mean, it's Kurt Cobain.
And that's why we as humans envy the gods for their immortality.
Right.
Because we want to grow and accomplish.
Yeah.
And build on a house on a stone.
Exactly. So you want the synthesis
but sometimes
and balancing
it's the mortality that disallows.
Yeah, and I think that's the relationship symbolically of like Kurt Cobain and Dave Grohl.
Right.
You know, where Cobain. Right. Cobain, you know, 27 years old, peak of his genius, dies.
Right. Still immortalized, Puritanist.
And then you have Dave Grohl, who actually I heard him on like an interview or something where after that moment, he was lost, you know, because he was just like, he too was like in his late 20s and he was like, okay, my band is done.
Right.
Like Kurt's dead. One of my closest friends has committed suicide.
Is gone. Right.
My band is gone. I don't know what to do. So he takes like a soul seeking trip to like, you know, Ireland or something. And he's just kind of like wandering around, you know, just traveling just to like, you know, get his, you know, try and, you know, clear his head, whatever. And then he's actually thinking of quitting music. You know, he's like, maybe I do just want, you know, a more stable lifestyle, or, you know, okay, this is a turning point. Maybe I'm just done. You know, music could just be something I do on the side for fun, whatever. Made some good money with Nirvana. Maybe just go, you know, start a new career, invest it, whatever. But then something inside of him was like, no, keep going. He felt it in his heart that he needed to go start a new project, you know?
Right.
And sure enough, he does, creates the Foo Fighters. And in this interview, he talks about how the Foo Fighters, the initial intention was to create a musical project that was going to be life affirming. And Foo Fighters is pretty life affirming. I mean, there's a lot of positive music, actually.
Sure,
you know, not all of it, but some of it, most of it. And then has this like long, incredible career, you know. And in this interview I watched with him, now he's like 60 or whatever. And he's talking about how he's like lived all his dreams of like jamming and becoming friends with Paul McCartney and like getting to do all these cool things, you know. So you have the Puritanist, but then you also have the longevity and the beauty that offers, you know.
Well, and then also to bring in like a sort of the having to see your heroes age poorly as well.
Yeah.
Is he's also recently been in like a lot of controversy
for
like
because there's
cheating on his wife and stuff like that, infidelity.
Right.
You know, people have sort of been making fun of him on Reels for being like, you know, pretty overweight, like letting himself go.
Yeah.
And like, you know.
Yeah.
So he won't also have that Kurt Cobain,
right,
you know, died in his prime.
Yeah.
You know, there wasn't like no controversies. He was a young guy, you know. I don't really know of any per se, right? You know, he died in that sort of prime of the Romeo and Juliet prime, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
But still, though, there's a beauty to that story as well. Foo Fighters' success, you know, found himself, you know, because immortalized now as well.
Right.
Just in a different way.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like we were talking the other day about like developmental stages, you know, of like human beings. And you have like I think, let's say there's like 12 stages that a human can go through developmentally, right? 12 stages of growth.
Right.
Most people stop at like stage 3 or 4.
Sure.
You know. And then some people follow the path of self-actualization, whatever that looks like for them, and go all the way through step 12, right?
Right.
So I feel like I used to have some envy for like Jim Morris and Kurt Cobain. Wow, what, you know, incredible lives they lived, although brief. Now I look at it and I'm like, yeah, but they didn't get to see all the stages.
Right.
You know, that's the thing about the pure return is for the individual who turns themselves into a sacrifice in that way.
Right.
They don't get to walk through all the archetypal developmental experiences of life. Like I look forward to being the father. I look forward to being the wise old man.
Right.
Because those experiences within the collective unconscious, whatever it is, also has such beauty and enjoyment to it.
Right.
You know.
Which also goes back to you know, the Romeo and Juliet story is one reason why it's such a celebrated play too, is that's part of the sadness of the ending is they don't get to grow up. Yeah. They don't get to grow up. They don't get to potentially have kids. A family and have a little, you know, Dalton freaking, you know, Juliet Jr. freaking, right. You know, whatever it may be. And maybe they find love with somebody else, what have you. It's sad because they don't, you know, like you said with Jim, with Kurt Cobain, I think like Chris Farley, freaking John Candy. It's devastating because they weren't allowed to make more art. They weren't allowed to live their lives. And, you know, like Shrek, right? Yeah. That was Chris Farley's, like, that was his like love, like story, his dreams of Jurga, essentially. And he always really related with Shrek, the character. Because,
Chris Farley?
Yeah, because he felt like
Shrek came after Chris Farley.
Yeah, exactly. He wrote it. It was going to be him. He was going to be Shrek and star in it. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
There's even audio readings of him and Eddie Murphy. Yeah. It's devastating.
Oh, wow. That's fun. I had no idea about that.
Yeah. And then, you know, of course, Mike Myers is incredible.
Yeah, he did a great job.
He did a wonderful job. And it's amazing. One of the best cartoon trilogies ever. But it was really Chris Farley's, and he related to that, you know, just sort of the ogre that everybody, you know, and his dad was like really overweight too. And, you know, it was like, sucks, right? Yeah. We wish we could have seen Chris Farley's vision of Shrek too, you know, despite what came, you know. Yeah. But sort of in the Romeo and Juliet, you know, what dies was also born as well. You know, something also came out of it too. You know? So, final thoughts on Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I have so many.
Yeah.
It's one of these plays that I feel like we could just go for days. We could have 3 different episodes on it.
We could, yeah.
In fact, we might want to do a volume 2.
We could. Do you have to wrap it up?
I gotta wrap it up. But this was a good, even like initial, I like the pods where it's like first impression. Yeah. And then let's digest a little bit. Maybe watch the PBS special in a few days.
Yeah, because there's a bit more to say.
Now about that whole season. And then once we can like decompress emotionally,
seriously,
I think we can then get into the woods of the language,
the
Latin,
masquerade party,
the friendships that were happening.
The Latin. I forgot about
the
Latin.
Funny podcast jokes we had, you know,
Benvolio.
How great Benvolio is. We didn't give Benvolio enough time. You know. So
okay, we'll come back to it.
Let's do Romeo and Juliet Volume 2.
Cool, let's do it.
Next one. All right.
On behalf of the Jareds, thank you for listening. Like, follow, and tell your friends. The Jays will be back next time, and always remember, wisely and slow, they stumble that run fast. a good evening.
It feels a little better. Like if I just got in the car and was driving, like,
Dude, I'm telling you, trauma.